Hey everybody, welcome back to Muscle Car Campy. We've got another powerhouse for you today, an SS396 68 Chevelle convertible. But before we dive into the nuts and bolts of this car, don't forget, hit the subscribe button and then ring that bell up top to make sure you get notified every time a new video goes live. You know, 1968 was a pivotal year when it comes to fast cars and rock and roll. 1968 saw the Beatles' White Album come out, big double album. The Rolling Stones countered with Beggar's Banquet, Sympathy for the Devil, all kinds of great music. In the automotive world, the Big Three redesigned all their intermediates for 1968, and nowhere was that bigger than at General Motors. All the A-bodies got a new wheelbase, a new chassis, beautiful, beautiful new styling. Everyone looked completely different and everyone was completely gorgeous. One of our favorites, of course, is the 1968 Chevelle SS396. 3 power plant choices, 325, 350, or 375 horsepower. More importantly, you had a gorgeous new body. The 68 Chevelle was an absolute design triumph with a sexy semi-fastback roofline with the coupe and hardtop and sleek flowing lines as exemplified by this 1968 convertible owned by Tom Logue. It's an SS396 making 350 horsepower from its optional L34 engine. With 10.25 to 1 compression, it trailed the mighty L78's 375 ponies, but it still churned out an impressive 415 pound-feet of torque. It is one of 12,481 L34 cars ordered that year. Once again, Chevy moved over 60,000 SS396 Chevelles, 300s, and El Caminos, which is quite an impressive number. More importantly, a mere 2,286 of these were convertibles, which amounts to only 3.6% of total production. Performance was decidedly mid-pack for the 350-horse SS models. In a convertible like this, you're talking mid to low 15s with an average driver in a factory state of tune. Still, the SS396 convertible is about far more than in-your-face performance. It's about the sun in your face, letting others see your face as you cruise by, and basking in the warm sun of a spring and summer day. There's really a great backstory behind this car. Tom's owned it since 1978, which is really amazing. He wasn't the second owner, but he still fell in love with the car. He's been driving it ever since. He's had it repainted a couple of times. There's still some wear and tear in certain parts of the car, but it really has become a family member for him. Tom really hit the mother lode with this car. Not only did he get a great piece of muscle car history, but he got every single piece of paperwork. The convertible top instructions, the protector plate, everything. Moreover, and this is a real tearjerker, years later, he got in touch somehow with the original owner, spoke to him on the phone, figured he'd have a 15-minute conversation, ends up with a 3-hour conversation with him. The guy asks for his address, he gives him the address, and he gets the original order form that the guy signed at the dealership. I mean, this is way more than a car, sports fans. Alright, we're with owner Tom Logue cruising down the road in his SS396 convertible, and I tell you, there's nothing like the feel of an open muscle car on a bright sunny day. There's not a cloud in the sky. I'm just loving this. Ever give any consideration to getting rid of it then, or that's a long time to have one car?
Back a long time ago I entertained selling it.
And what made you decide not to?
My heart, I guess.
Common sense intervened.
Yeah. You throw out a figure nobody would want to pay and some guy gets real interested.
This car is originally from Maine. It still has the emblem on the trunk lid from, was it Cox Chevrolet?
An inspection sticker from the early 80s.
Wow. This is quite the ride. I mean, it's definitely, I love the design on these cars. All the GMA bodies had beautiful interiors. The Chevelle was a little unusual. You had that rotating tack in the middle of the gauge cluster. How is that?
It's there.
It's there.
It works fine.
A little hard to read compared to, say, a regular round tachometer with a needle?
It may be, but I don't find it that way.
I guess once you get used to it,
yeah,
it's easy. So you bought this car in '78. Did you buy it from the original owner?
No, it's a long story. I started selling new Chevrolets in 1975. And this car was purchased at that dealership. I worked with a group of old timers that in the 60s got to drive anything they wanted. And most of them opted to anything that had an SS behind it. And I listened to those stories, and even though it was 75, I thought it would be cool to have something like that. A friend of mine worked next door at the Ford store, and he told me they were going to take in the 10-year-old Chevelle Convertible that was showing her age. He says you probably could buy it reasonably. They're going to wholesale it.
It was probably very inexpensive. It was just an old used car in '78.
An old used car. It's a convertible.
And nobody wanted convertibles then.
I see up there.
Yeah, that's true too.
But he told me when it was going to be there, and I showed up early that morning with a checkbook. Because I worked at a competing dealership, the used car manager didn't like me. The car came in, I walked around it. The used car manager looked me in the eye and says, "It's not for sale, you can't buy it." I started arguing with him. He says, "I sold it to a used car dealer. In fact, I took it in on his offer. It's his car." So being a wise young punk that I was, I took out my checkbook and I'm going, "Will $3 grand buy it?" "No, you can't buy the car." So I left, very dejected. That winter, I got laid off from selling cars, and I decided I was going to buy a business. In May, I took possession of a general store. I'd had it about 3 weeks. And a friend of mine who was a wholesaler called me up and asked if I remembered the red convertible that I just couldn't live without. And I said, "Of course I remember it." He said, "You still want it?" I said, "Well, first of all, how much you want for it?" He says, "Well, I think you offered $2,200. Would you still buy it for that?" I said, "If it's just the way I saw it, I would." So I'll bring it to you tomorrow.
So $2,200.
Yeah.
It brought to you a lifetime of pleasure
Yes.
and enjoyment and memories.
Yes.
What's your favorite memory from this car? Do you have one?
I would say I'd owned this car about a year, and because it always had the top down. I went out to a neighborhood tavern one night with the top down in early April, and when I came out, we'd had 4 inches of snow. So the car was full of snow, the roads were snowy, and off I went. It was a fun ride. This isn't real good in snow.
No, they're not.
And when the next morning, when the snow melted, the inside was completely saturated. And that's probably my most memorable time with it.
Wow.
But there have been many.
Tom, have you ever had this car out to the drag strip or done anything like that with it, or is
No.
it just a comfy cruiser for you?
Pretty much a comfy cruiser. When I first got it, there was a little bit of street racing involved, but not much.
Nah. Now, this car is unusually optioned. It's an SS396. It's got power steering. It's got the 4-speed, but it has a manual top. I mean, that is really kind of unusual. Oh, look at this. The original. Is this the window sticker?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Special suspension. The original owner ordered the special suspension for a whopping $4.75. That's important. Rear seat speaker for the AM radio. Center console, special instruments, power steering, Matador red, 331 gears, manual rear antenna. That was $9.50. Wow, and posi traction, 4215, and of course the L34 350 horse 396 option. I mean, that's just great. What a machine. What an absolute machine. I can understand why you decided not to sell it. I mean, this is just an absolute glory car. I mean, and of course it's resale red if you ever did need to get rid of it. But what an absolute joy to ride in. I mean, I just love this car.
As I say, it checks all the boxes.
It really does. I mean, wow. Now you added a couple of things. You added this mirror on the wing window here, so I know when you back into the garage, it makes it easier to see. You said you never really put the top up because it's such a pain in the butt. That's pretty funny.
That's the beauty of living in Florida.
That's it. Although it does rain on occasion, so
I have put it up a couple of times.
But realistically, this is just glorious. I'm in heaven here. You know, I'm a big convertible guy. I always have been. My first car was a 71 Barracuda convertible. So to me, there's nothing more enjoyable, especially as I get older, feeling that wind blowing through all my bald spots. You know, it's just an absolute joy.
That's enough.
It's in front of what, a church? So God will forgive you.
Huh?
Was that a church? God forgives you.
He's a car guy.
He is a car guy. All right, everybody, that's another Muscle Car Campy video in the books. Don't forget, before you go, share the link with your friends. Hit the subscribe button and definitely ring the bell so you get notified every time a new video goes live. We got so many great cars coming up, you won't believe it, and you certainly won't want to miss one. Thanks for watching.